Kia ora he te whānau, ko Jonathan Toka Ingoa, or JD apparently as well. Why don't you just turn to the person next to you for a moment, share maybe some nicknames that you feel like you can share. Some nicknames that are okay to share with other people. Just take a moment to do that, because we are talking about names. Over the course of the series, I might even share some of my ones that I had, particularly growing up, if I feel comfortable around you, but we'll see how we go. I'm sure you've been at a conference before when you've had one of these, sticky notes. You get to the table at the front and there's all these notes and you have to take a pen and fill in your name. And often when I'm standing there, I'm trying to work out, well, what name do you put down? Do you just put your first name? Do you put a nickname or abbreviation? Or perhaps if you're in a weird mood, you might put somebody else's name because you just feel like it. But what name do you put? Our name ultimately says something about us. And even though it's just some letters on a label, ultimately it's an invitation for people to meet us. To be able to say, hello, my name is Jonathan, JD. It says something about who I am, but it's really not just about the words on a label or the letters on a label. It's really an introduction to my story. And so even though somebody might have a similar name to what I have, it's an invitation to my story that I live out. What's your name? It's kind of the first question we typically ask people, isn't it, when we meet them? And what we're asking really isn't, again, just some letters on a label. We're really asking, hey, I want to know something more about you. What makes you, you? Because names matter. Dale Carnegie, the author of the classic book you probably heard about, How to Win Friends and Influence People, writes that a person's name is the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Your name is personal to you. Your name tells your story. And in ancient times, names were especially sacred. It conveyed something about your identity. One Old Testament scholar writes that in the world of the Hebrew Scriptures, a personal name was often thought to indicate something essential about the person's identity, origin, birth circumstances, or the divine purpose that the bearer was intended to fulfill. That they saw something about in this name that was revealing something of the nature of the person. So if that's true, you can start to think back to some of the Bible stories you might be familiar with. Stories like Abraham, how he was originally called Abram. Abram means exalted father, and yet the Creator comes to him one day and says, Abram, one day I see you having children and you're going to be the father of many nations. And so he changes his name from Abram to Abraham, meaning the father of many nations. It conveys something about his new identity, that this promise. It was more than just words on a label. Abraham had a son that he named Isaac. Isaac means laughter. And the reason Isaac was named, as he was, is because Abraham's wife Sarah, when she heard that they were going to have a baby, she just laughed because she was well and truly in her old age. And yet Isaac came to be, and he was called Isaac, meaning laughter. And then you think of Isaac's son Jacob. Jacob's name means heel grabber. It was a euphemism for a liar and a cheat. And if you know his story well, his biography is exactly that, one con after another. Until this odd story when he's wrestling with God, and God renames him in the midst of that to Israel, which means one who wrestles with God. And he comes out of that wrestling match with the Creator as a changed man. You see, your name in these times was your autobiography in one word. Do you know that God has a name? And his name is not God. Now, I realize that we refer to him as God. We might even pray, dear God, can you help me? Can you help this other person? Dear God, can you do this? But God is more of a category than a name. In many ways, it would be like if I took this label and I wrote human and kind of stuck it to me. It's true, but it's not really what we do. It's a category of being. This is often how we talk about God. God is impersonal. It's this category. Doesn't really make sense in a name. Now that might sound unimportant to you, it might just sound semantics, but actually if you understand this, I think it has the potential to radically alter the way that you relate to our Creator. I think it can radically alter the way that we get through to the end of what has been this incredibly tough year of 2020 and step into all the uncertainties of 2021. I think it can change the way we think about Christmas, because this is at the very heart of the Christmas story. You see, what we think about God can actually have the greatest impact on us than anything else. The 20th century writer A.W. Tozer wrote this. He says, "What comes to mind when we think about God is the most important thing about us." What do you notice? He doesn't say an important thing. He says this is the most important thing. This is more important than our family of origin, our country of birth, our language, our sexuality, or our education. It's the most important thing because we become what we worship. We become what we focus our affection and our mental activity on. Tozer went on to write, "We tend by a secret law of the soul," I love that, "to move toward our mental image of God, where we're able to extract from any man, from any person, a complete answer to the question, what comes to mind when we think about God? We might predict with certainty the spiritual future of that person." In other words, what you think about God can actually shape the destiny of your life. It can shape the way you see yourself. It can affect what you do and why you do it. I'm going to say that again because I really wanted to anchor into our mind. What you think about God can shape the destiny of your life. It can shape the way you see yourself. It can affect what you do and why you do it. So as I was praying about how we finish off this, this year and our messages in 2020, and as we kind of step into 2021, trying to wrestle with what is it that we need to kind of ground ourselves in, and it was kind of the sense of we really need a deeper understanding of our Creator and the way He relates to us, the invitation that He has to us to do life with Him. And I want us to reflect this as we kind of step into a new year ahead. And so I know many of us are going to be traveling away over summer, but we really don't want you to miss any of these. So I want to remind you, you have access to church online every Sunday. There's on-demand messages on our website through YouTube. Even our Christmas services are all going to be both on demand and online as well, because we really don't want you to miss anything that's going on, but to be able to stay connected and allow these thoughts, these messages, to actually shape the way we think about God and the way we think about ourselves. So if God has a name and it's not God, what is His name? So in our passage today, it's like God is filling in one of these labels to say, "Hello, my name is." And so in Exodus 3, the Creator calls out to Moses from a burning bush at the edge of Mount Sinai. If you know the story, Moses is a Hebrew, a descendant of Abraham. And by this point in the story, the Hebrews are in a really tough spot. They were slaves in Egypt, the superpower of the day. And Moses sees this bush on fire, and he notices the bush is not being consumed within itself. It kind of continues to be sustained. And so he goes over to check it out. And in that moment, the Creator speaks to Moses from the bush. He says, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." You see, at the very beginning, God was often known by the relationship that He had with someone. So the God of Abraham, well, which God is it? Well, it's the God Abraham worshipped. It's the God Isaac worshipped. It's the God Jacob worshipped. But having begun this conversation with Moses, the Creator tells Moses that He sees the injustice. He sees the oppression of Israel, and He's ready to do something about it. He wants Moses to lead the people out of slavery. And if you know the story, Moses effectively, to summarize what he says, it's just like, me? Wait a tick, Creator, whoever you are, you've got the wrong person, because it might be somebody else, but it's not really this person. And in the process of going back and forward with the Creator, and the Creator is obviously pretty convincing and changes Moses' mind, because he can be pretty convincing, Moses starts to ask a whole bunch of questions. So one of the things Moses asks is, well, what name should I give to the Israelites if they ask me who you are? Suppose I go to the Israelites, Moses says, and say to them, "The God of your fathers has sent me to you," and they ask me, "But what's His name?" Then what am I going to tell them? You see, in the ancient world, there was God competition. If you Google ancient gods in Egypt, you'll find 28 major gods. And that's just the beginning. Each god had a different responsibility, and they all worked together to make the world function. There was the god Nut, who was the goddess of the heavens. Her husband was Geb, who was the god of the earth. There was Shu, Nut's father, who was god of the air and kind of holding everything together. And they were all kind of related, all doing their thing. So really Moses is asking, well, who are you that's speaking to me? Where do you fit into all this? And really his question isn't so much, just tell me the different letters of a name, but I want to know more about you. What makes you tick? Who are you? And the Creator responds by giving Moses the name of the Creator. So we read, God replied to Moses, I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. I am who I am. You know, hello, my name is I am. I mean, that seems a bit odd, doesn't it? To our ears, it's elusive, it's mysterious. To further complicate it, the Creator continues. He says to Moses, say this to the people of Israel, Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This, Yahweh, is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. So why does the Creator use the name Yahweh in this verse? And the verse right before it, he says, my name is I am who I am. Which is God's name? Is it I am or is it Yahweh? Well, actually, Yahweh and I am mean the same things. They're built on the same Hebrew word. And that's why this passage is in parallel with each other. Maybe you can see it here on the screen. So first verse, God replied to Moses, I am who I am. Second verse, God said to Moses, then say this to the people of Israel, say this to the people of Israel. Up the top, I am has sent me to you. Yahweh has sent me to you. I am, Yahweh, kind of in parallel with each other. So what's going on? Well, hang with me for just half a minute. It might be a little bit technical, but in most languages of the world, we tend to speak in three persons. In first person, we say things like I or we. Second person, we say you. Third person, we say him, her, or they. I am is the Creator speaking to Moses in first person. This is how the Creator refers and talks about himself. Yahweh is the same word in third person to say he is or to say Yahweh. It's this play on words of I am. So when the Creator talks about himself, he says, I am. When Moses talks about the Creator, we speak in third person to say he is or Yahweh. Can you say that out loud with me? Yahweh. Yahweh. And when we say it, it's this agreement to say God is the I am. The I am. So what is the Creator saying about his name? Remember, this is in a culture where your name is your autobiography in one word. See, the Creator is saying something that's actually quite mind-boggling. I am eternal. I am unchanging. I actually can't get any better than what I am because I am absolutely perfect. I am self-existent. There was never a time when I was not. There will never be a time when I am not. I'm self-sufficient. I don't need anybody or anything outside of myself. I'm unshifting. I'm stable. I'm trustworthy. And I'm fully present right here in the now. Yeah. I am not never engaged. I don't grow tired or weary. I don't need a nap. See, this means that whatever God is like, he's like this all the time, consistently. So, for example, if we read that God is compassionate, it means that God is compassionate all the time. If God is gracious, it means that God is gracious all the time. If God is slow to anger, well, you get the idea. He's this slow to anger all the time. See, by using this name, the Creator is saying to us, I want you to know that you can be in this relationship with me and I will be fully present for you. I will never let you down and you can trust me. Now, trust, it's such an essential element in relationships, isn't it? Have you ever thought that you knew somebody really well and you trusted them deeply? You thought they were a standout person, and then you get that email, the phone call, the knock at the door, and you discover this shocking double life that's going on in the shadows. And you find out the story that she fed you was a lie. You find out that your partner's a cheater. that your friend has this double life. They've kept it under wraps for so long, and you thought they were trustworthy, you thought they were honest, but now you just discover it's all a facade. But God's not like that. There's no facade. Once you actually get to know him, you'll find out what he's really like. Because God is like this consistently. This is the God you can rely on. So I want you to notice that God's name comes as part of a story when Moses is facing some major doubts about his ability. A lot of insecurities in his life. Now, at this point in Moses' life, the Creator wants Moses to lead the people out of their bondage, to which, remember, Moses has said, you've got the wrong guy. This is not me. Well, the Creator and Moses have this dialogue, and even just when you think about this, that the fact that a person and the Creator can actually be in dialogue, genuine dialogue with each other, is quite an amazing thought. And over this chapter and a half, Moses goes on to give 5 reasons why he's not the one to do it, at least in his opinion. One scholar summed it up this way: I'm not good enough. That's objection 1. Objection 2, I'm not knowledgeable enough. Objection 3, I'm not persuasive enough. After all, 40 years earlier, Moses had tried to lead a revolt and no one followed him. Obviously, he's not persuasive enough. I'm not gifted enough. Moses has lived with failure over what he's done in the past. He's lived with it now for 40 years. I'm not confident enough. I mean, aren't these the types of things we often say to ourselves, about ourselves? I never thought that I can never do that. I don't have what it takes. It's just not me. I'm a failure as a person. I'm not what my workplace needs right now. There's plenty of other people who could do it far better. I can't talk to people about Jesus. I just don't have enough knowledge for that. I don't have enough persuasive power, or I don't have the confidence. And besides, I'm really not good enough. I make way too many mistakes. God would never want me to do that anyway. God would have somebody else do that, surely. Now, you could add to the list, couldn't you? I am not mature enough, old enough, young enough, wealthy enough, hip enough. And each time you say things like that, you are effectively declaring out loud, just like Moses, I am not enough. And so you sit back and you go, well, what's the connection then between the insecurities that Moses is feeling and this name that God gives him of Yahweh? How does the Creator respond to Moses' objections? And really to our objections? Well, notice that God doesn't stroke Moses' self-esteem. He doesn't say, Moses, you can do it, you're the man. Instead, he simply gives his name. Moses, I am Yahweh. I am who I am. I am present. I am sufficient. I have unlimited resources from within myself. I am enough for you. And Moses, if you're in relationship with me, you've actually got everything that you need. And with that, Moses, even with all of his insecurities, actually steps in to lead the Hebrews out of oppression and to bring them newfound freedom. All because he hears and takes on God's name and all that God's name embodies. But this is something that Moses needs reminding of. It's something that you and I need to be reminded of too. So a similar story happens to Moses 40 years after this event. Same location in Mount Sinai. At this point, Moses has successfully led the people out of Egypt, out of slavery, and they're in the wilderness, and they're heading towards the promised land. But Moses is tired. He's fatigued. The people are just plain hard work. He's had enough of the dysfunction in the community, their complaints, the dragging of their heels, their constant issues, their lack of faith, and he cries out to the Creator. I can't do this anymore. It's beyond me. It's all just way too hard. This is what he says. One day Moses said to the Lord, you've been telling me, take these people up to the promised land. But you haven't told me whom you will send with me. You've told me, I know you by name. I look favorably on you. If it's true you look favorably on me, let me know your ways so I may understand you more fully and continue to enjoy your favor. And remember, this nation is your very own people. This is your problem. Do you hear his heart? I mean, you're the one who called me to lead these people, but God, it is way too hard. And I don't want to take another step on this journey unless you show up and you are present in some way to do something. I can't continue with all of these problems by myself. See, many of us here tonight feel the same way. We're exhausted, fatigued, unable to take another step forward. I've chatted to many of you over the past few weeks, and some of you are just hanging on by a small thread as you just try to crawl to the finish line of this year, hoping desperately that 2021 is going to be different. If you face just another hurdle in your work, you know you can't continue. If you face another challenge in your home, in relationships, or whatever is going on, it's just way too hard. You try to do good in the community and it's misunderstood. You face the same hurdle time after time after time. You see the tensions around you and you just can't keep fighting this day after day. And in many ways, you're crying out like Moses, saying, I can't do this anymore. Something needs to change if I'm going to take even just one more step forward in my journey. I want you to see how God responds. Because he pretty much responds the same way that he recruited Moses 40 years earlier. This time the Creator hides Moses in the crevice of a rock and he passes by and he lets Moses see the goodness of God. And the Creator calls out his name. His name. In Exodus 34 we read, Then Yahweh came down in a cloud and stood there with Moses, and he called out his own name, Yahweh. Yahweh passed in front of Moses, calling out, Yahweh, Yahweh. And as he walks by, Yahweh just calls out a range of descriptions about himself that all flow from his name. The God of compassion and mercy. I am slow to anger and filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. I lavish unfailing love to 1,000 generations. I forgive iniquity, rebellion, and sin. And we're going to be looking at these descriptions over January, but they all flow from God's name. They're all Yahweh. They're all fully present, consistent about who Yahweh is. But I don't want you to miss the big picture here. To see the way the Creator is helping Moses take another step on his journey simply by reminding Moses of his name, Yahweh. Moses, you can call me Yahweh. Hello, my name is Yahweh. I am is here to help you. I am fully present with you on this journey. Moses, I am enough for you. And isn't this what you need and what I need as we stumble to the end of 2020 and we look out desperately for 2021? Someone shared with me earlier this morning this quote from Jill Briscoe. She says, I am is all that you need when all that you need is all that I am. I'll read it again in case it helps. I am is all that you need when all that you need is all that I am. You see, the way we get through our inadequacies and insecurities, the way we're able to take another step on this journey when we want to throw it all in, is actually reminding our souls, reminding ourselves of the name of God. God has a name, and his name is Yahweh. And that is exactly what you need and I need in order to take another step forward in our journey. Now, when you open your Bibles to some of these passages, you might find that the name Yahweh has been replaced by Lord in capital letters, or possibly Jehovah. So why is that? Well, over time, the Hebrews actually stopped saying the name of God out loud. You might remember one of the 10 Commandments that says, you shall not misuse the name of Yahweh your God. And they grew scared of accidentally breaking this commandment, so they just stopped saying the name of God altogether. Instead, when they were wanting to refer to Yahweh, they would refer to him as the name, or another Hebrew title, Adonai, which is translated the Lord in capital letters. But this is actually a problem. I think quite a big problem. You see, when we say the Lord, that's not a name. The Lord is a title. It's what a servant would call a master. It would be like me calling Robin the wife. Oh, here's the wife. You know, it's just kind of rude and horrid when somebody does that, and if you do it, you probably need to stop. You know, it might be true about your relationship, but it just lacks warmth. It's so impersonal. Or you're at a doctor's reception and the receptionist might say to me, Mr. Dove, Dr. McLaren is ready to see you. Now those titles are correct because we have this doctor-patient relationship. It's a functional relationship, but there's no first name basis. Some of you from time to time call me pastor, but again, pastor's a title. It's not my name. It highlights a role, it highlights a function, the way you see me. And that can be a good thing, but it's different to a friend-to-friend relationship where people can call each other on a first name basis. You see, titles are appropriate in many contexts, but it's not the way our Creator wants to relate to us. Our Creator actually invites us to a first name relationship basis. But when we keep God's name to the Lord, there can be this tendency from our standpoint to almost keep God in a functional master-servant relationship. Again, the Hebrews translated the name Yahweh to the Lord because they didn't want to misuse it. It came from this good motivation. They wanted to honor God. They knew He was holy, and He is holy. But it's a problem. Remember what God says. Here in Exodus 3, He said, Yahweh is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. Now, what does God want to be called? He wants to be known as Yahweh, not Lord. He doesn't want us to use a title for Him that might keep Him at arm's length. He wants to step into, with us, this dynamic, warm relationship. You can call me Yahweh. This is my name. Now, you might also see in your translation the name Jehovah. So where does Jehovah come from? Well, Jehovah is really a blend of the Hebrew word Lord and Yahweh. Effectively, what scholars did is they took the vowels of the Hebrew word Adonai, or Lord, and the consonants of Yahweh, and they fused them together to get this hybrid word Jehovah. It never comes out of the biblical text by itself. It's just what translators have done. But once again, it's done because people feel like they can't say the name of God out loud or in print. And so these translators came up with a new name, not one that God ever uses about Himself. Now again, it comes from a good motivation because we fear saying the name of God because it's so holy. But it has the same problem because God says He wants to be known by His name, Yahweh. Yahweh is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. And it's almost like the same fear that these Jewish scholars had still lives on in us. I mean, what's the title we use when so often when we pray? We say, Lord, Lord, this title. When we open our Bibles and we read Yahweh translated 6,000 times in our Bible so often as Lord in capital letters. But God's name is not a title. Now, it's not wrong to use it. I just think it has the potential to keep Him distant, to keep our relationship formal, when all the time the Creator is saying to us, hello, my name is Yahweh. Yahweh is what I want to be called. I am Yahweh, this is my name, Isaiah says. Later in Exodus, Yahweh is a warrior, Yahweh is His name. And every time we use His name, we are saying He is. We are affirming He is sufficient, He is eternal, He is knowable, He is fully present. We are affirming He is enough for me. So what does all this have to do with Christmas? Well, all this comes to this dramatic climax in the coming of Jesus. In his biography of Jesus, the New Testament writer John makes this profound statement. He says in John 1, the Word became flesh and made His dwelling among us. We have seen His glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. And let's keep the verses up there for a moment, because these verses might sound a bit familiar if you've, thinking back to some verses I read just a few minutes ago from Exodus 34. That phrase, made His dwelling among us, is literally He built this tabernacle among us, or this tabernacle, the same tabernacle that Moses had back in the time moving from Egypt to the Promised Land. That phrase, seen His glory, is reminiscent in Exodus 34 of the glory of God that descended on the cloud on Mount Sinai. That phrase, full of grace and truth, is translated in Exodus 34 as love and faithfulness, one of those descriptions I read to you about who God is. You see, John is making the point that in Jesus we see God. Yahweh has become a human being. We can now not just hear Yahweh, but we can see Yahweh, and his name is Jesus. Later in John's biography of Jesus, we hear the religious leaders asking Jesus to explain himself. Who are you, Jesus? And Jesus links himself to the God of Abraham. Perhaps that sounds familiar in the Exodus story. Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am. And those two words, I am, were this deliberate link to what Yahweh had said in first person. And that's certainly the way the religious leaders understood it, because in John 8, they picked up stones to stone him for blasphemy. But of course, we believe Jesus was being truthful. This is Yahweh come in human flesh. It's the amazing story of Christmas. See, friends, God has a name. His name is not God. It's Yahweh. And he is made known to us in the very best possible way through Jesus. Through Jesus. Through Jesus. He's not some impersonal force or idea. He's not distant from us. He is the holy God. He's worthy of all things, but he doesn't want a title to keep him at a distance. But he wants this first name relationship with us. Call me Yahweh. The creator of the universe wants to relate to you and to me. Throughout the story in Exodus, we read about the relationship Moses had with Yahweh. It says Yahweh would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. And this is why Jesus lived and died and rose, to make this kind of relationship possible for you and for me. It's Jesus' desire for us. And it lies at the very heart of the Christmas message. In fact, right before Jesus died, he prayed to the Father. He said, I've made your name known to them. I will continue to make your name known in order that your love that you have for me may be in them, and that I myself may be in them. See, we've been invited to this beautiful relationship between the Creator and ourselves, where we can dialogue as friends. Often churches talk about a personal relationship with Jesus. It's this kind of cliche language that may have come to lead us to fail to grasp the radical concept of that. That we can actually have a dynamic, first name basis relationship with the one who, with his very fingers, crafted this world, crafted our lives. He invites us into a relationship with him. And the only difference between now and the time of Moses is we don't have to climb a mountain. All we have to do is open our lips, because he's listening and he wants a dialogue. I wonder if you just want to put your hands out in front of you just to take some time to pray. I often find just that posture of kind of having open hands placed on your lap just enables us to be ready to receive what God might have for us. I want to give you an opportunity just in the quietness of this moment just to converse and dialogue with the God who created all things, with the one who is holy and so set apart. And yet this one wants to talk with you and for you to talk with him. Some of you carry a whole bunch of things right now as you stumble through to the end of the year. And you're tired and you're fatigued, but really you're coming to say, God, would you take this? Yahweh, would you come and be present with me? Yahweh, would you come and remind my soul that you are self-existent, self-sufficient, fully present, and that I have nothing to fear. So take this opportunity to talk to Yahweh, to talk to Jesus. He knows you by name, and he wants you to know him by name. Let's give you a moment to pray. Isaiah 41, the prophet says, "For I am Yahweh your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, I will help you. And so Yahweh, we are so grateful that we can converse with you. You, the majestic being, invite us into this dynamic relationship where we can talk with you, where we can know you. As a friend dialogues with a friend on a first name basis, we can do this with you. And so we want to bring the anxieties and the issues and the things bothering us to light in our relationship with you. Asking that you would meet us in this place. That Yahweh, you would give us the strength we need for another day. That Yahweh, you would give us everything we need to face another day. That you would remind us about who we are and who you are. And that you have everything we need and could possibly ever dream of. That everything that we need in life is found in you. Yahweh, we love you, we adore you, and we worship you. In Jesus' name.